I was also very concerned at that time with the fact that he was burning 100% of the miner emissions on Bittensor. So three of the top emission subnets on Bittensor had zero miner emission: Templar, Basilica, and Grail. Um, I decided to vote with some of the tokens that I had within those subnets and say, hey, look, Samuel, like I disagree with this decision. Also, you being a fully burning subnet, also you're not on the Bittensor Discord. I'm not sure if I want to continue to support you guys having all of the emission in Bittensor, almost like upwards of 30%. We had a bit of a fight around that, and he decided to come back into the Discord. But I think that he didn't feel that that was enough, and he's made this decision today, which is really unfortunate. I think for him and for the mess that's being created here. I don't have unilateral decision making over the emissions. It just turns out that I used the mechanism that we built on Bittensor, which is that you can sell tokens and that in that way direct the emissions of Bittensor. So in many respects, it's actually an example of decentralization on the protocol where people that are token holders can direct the emission. That's what happens every day on Bittensor. The fact that I sold 300 tau worth and then people followed suit is also just a reflection of the fact that people respect my opinion. Um, Partially because I know a lot about BitTensor, partially because I think I've earned some of that soft power. Also because I know those subnets very well. I actually understand them technically. I wrote the original version of Templar. I bought the subnet for Sam. I gave him the subnet slot. I also purchased the slot on 39 for him. I've done a lot of things for Samuel. And so, anyways, I think that people followed suit, and that's why the emissions dropped. I wasn't actually aware, but perhaps that was a lot for him, and he's decided to go this route. Is there anything else we should respond to there?
No, if anyone else wants to jump in, they're welcome to. I guess that's the point of this space as well, to give everybody an opportunity. But yeah, I think you've covered your side, Const, and I appreciate that. And thank you for jumping at 3 a.m.
Yeah, can I jump in for a second?
Go for it.
Yeah, cool. So it's also 3 a.m. on my end, actually. It's a bit of drama. No, I just agree with obviously with the fact that subnet token holders should have more power. I also agree on the fact that as a subnet owner, you should really have like skin in the game and lock tokens. I don't really know how the mechanism is going to look like. But I think we should definitely, as a community, show that subnet owners are around to really build meaningful stuff. And if it has to go through having skin in the game, locking tokens, give subnet, holders, token holders more power, I will definitely root for it. I think we should use this sad, thing as a way to grow as a community and also as a way for the other subnet owners to be more accountable about what we build, being more transparent, more community centric, basically. Yeah, so that was it. I mean, nothing else to add. But yeah, just supporting the whole ecosystem. I know it's a tough day for everyone, so if anyone needs to have a chat or something, my DMs are open, and I would be happy to just have a chat and just think about how things are going to be in a few days, in a few weeks, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to be more positive.
I think certainly, Max. Like, so one of the biggest critiques I think of BitTensor has been along this angle. Like, hey, we have these subnets; they're tied to these teams. That doesn't even have the qualities that let's say a regulated security company does on the stock market, on the Nasdaqs. Like where if a leader of that company were to perform an action like this, they could get into serious trouble, right? Crypto has never had that, and that's why crypto. I think it's way more important in crypto and in our industry to have a reputation as somebody with integrity, right? And that's why we look to people like, let's say, Vitalik and Satoshi, these people that clearly had deep integrity, because we know that we live in this freedom world where it's possible. There's nobody that's going to come and save the day for you if the team decides to rug and basically do what they did today. I believe that we can build better than that. I think that we can maintain the freedom in digital currencies, but solve these problems. So keep it free, but solve these problems in a way that there's also trust. And that was the original idea with the lock-based mechanism that we intend to add into the system, which is fully transparent, right? So you can see, hey, this team has put this much conviction, temporal conviction behind what they're building. And so it's not possible for them to, it's actually quite cryptographically impossible for them to do an action like this. In addition to that, if it looks like they're pulling out of their subnet, if they're not performing well, if they're not there, just if they're not staying for keeps, right? You can see it on the chain that's transparent, and you can see that a long way out, right? As opposed to it just is a surprise like this. So it's clear to me that this is something we need to build on Bittensor. And every time something like this has happened, it's like, oh my God, there's something we need to build on Bittensor. I see why. It becomes this fantastic revolution or evolution of the protocol, right? When we learned, hey, it's not just one subnet that we need to run on Bittensor, it's many. And we built subnets, and we built the tools available for us to have many people come into the system. Like, that was off the back of us recognizing the inefficiency or the lack of capability of certain teams, or big problems. That was actually, forced upon us, you could say, by the original exploit. Funny enough, right? The original exploit on the first subnet on Bittensor led to us making subnets on Bittensor, which then led to the subnet revolution. The original exploit of root network, let's call it oligarchic corruption, led us to build DTAO, which was another evolution and a revolution of Bittensor. So something like this happens. It kind of just happens off the cuff, out of the blue, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is a bad moment." But then we look down at why that happened, and we go, "Hey, let's build a solution." And that solution is not. It's not like less than. We're not in a worse position. We're actually at the cusp of another revolution in the way in which we can build these systems to be decentralized and efficient and effective and aligned. Right. So it's sad, but it's also I've been through it so many times. For me, it's like the feeling is not sad at all. It's actually quite exciting. Anyways, any more questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
I actually have a comment, an apology, and a question. Comment is, Const, thank you for getting on here at 3 a.m. to speak with us. And I really appreciate how you're bringing a lot of calmness to the situation. I think a lot of people were really freaking out, including myself. And apology, my first inclination when I read Sam's post was I got upset with you because it sounded really bad what he was saying. And now when I hear your version of things, I realize that the bad actor here it seems to be Sam. So I want to apologize to you for jumping to conclusions.
I would get us outside of the world of right and wrong and bad and good, right? We at BitSensor believe about aligned incentives and the power to source as many people from around the globe to help us on this mission. And so there's no point in lingering upon like who's to blame, who was right, who was wrong. What's more important is what we do next. How do we build from this? And that's what I was saying in my just previously is like, this is actually an opportunity. This is like a golden ticket for us to build a way better solution than we had before.
Agreed. And here's my question. And forgive me if this sounds stupid, but my understanding and my belief of the BitTensor network and the incentive mechanism that Tau represents is that it is so unique that you can't replicate. So let's say Sam got approached by some VC guy who said, hey, I'll build a sandbox for you and you come do this, for me with VC money. How is he going to get thousands or hundreds of thousands of nodes around the world and incentivize them to do this same type of thing that he was doing on the Bittensor network without an incentive mechanism?
Um, he can definitely replicate Bittensor, but it doesn't matter. Like
So he can
the
he can create another Bittensor, right? But
yeah,
but there's no way from a
and we're the and
centralized perspective. Like you can't do this. You need to have this kind of setup with an incentive mechanism like Tau.
Yes, exactly. So he would have to go and replicate and build his own version and all those things, and I'm sure he will. And honestly, guys, more power to him. More power to him. Are we here to decentralize artificial intelligence? Are we here to make this shit work, or are we here to make money and to own it and make it ours? No, right? Like, if he can go and build it and it can be better than what Bittensor is, hallelujah, hallelujah. But I think that there's something that you can't fork from this community, which is the people. You can't fork from us the vision. You can't fork from us all of the intention that we've put into this project. You can't fork from us the community. You can't fork from us the, like, honestly, the godliness of Bittensor, the things that have made us stand through hard times and continue and do the right thing over and over again. Like that you can't take that. And especially you can't take that if you make a decision where you steal from people and then say, look, no, I'm the good guy. We're making the future. Yeah, fuck you, man. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because this is we are living in a completely new world where people have choice. This is crypto. You guys have choice. We can vote with our feet and it's not controlled, which means that individuals like the people on this call can decide, you know what? I don't want to be involved with that. So this isn't Web 2. This is not crony capitalism. This is not Wall Street insiders. This is community first technology from the ground up, and it always has been. And as a consequence of that, you have to be aligned. You can't just build fucking corrupt bullshit off of the foundation of greed and malice. You can't do that. You won't be successful. And I think that's actually the thing that aligns us all here. Um, so yeah, I'm not concerned about that. And but if he can pull it together and make that happen, like hallelujah, like guys, we want that to happen. But I mean, I've seen that happen before. I mean, like, honestly, candidly, when News Research left Bittensor to make their own token on Solana because they wanted more money, and we weren't able to give them more than 10% emission, and they were like, oh, we're worth more than that, and so they forked and built their own token on Solana, and then fired the head of their team, Shivani, because she was getting in the way of them making more money. It's like, all right, yeah, good luck with having a community that loves you. Good luck with building something that's actually purely like profound and godly. Good luck. And that fell flat on its face. And guess what? The same investors, just I know it. The same investors that told News to do that are the same ones that did this.
Can I just add something there? I
Yeah.
actually left Crunch. So I co-founded CrunchDAO with John, and I actually left Crunch because we raised money with Multicoin, and the reason about the raise was to build a so-called Bittensor killer.
Oh my God,
And I
Kyle.
and I never believed that shit. And I was like, there's no way something is going to compete against Bittensor. And what I did is I left the company. I renounced, about my shares. I didn't take a dime, and I just decided to launch a subnet because I knew that nothing would stop Bittensor ever. So if anything, people maybe can tell that you're biased when you're saying that Bittensor is bigger than anything else. But I just went through it as an individual. I had a company. I raised money with another type of VCs. I heard a lot of BS. I just learned more about Tau and Bittensor, and I just decided to leave everything I had, everything I owned, to launch a subnet. And I'm pretty sure that those conversations happened again and again and again. And obviously, when you hear about those big numbers, when people are showing you, more money that you ever, came across, obviously it could be tempting. But in reality, if you're really here to build something meaningful, there's no other places like Tau. So
Well
you
said.
know, I just went through it as an individual again.
Well, thanks, Max. That's really, really kind of you to say.
Well, it's like Const just said. One of the things you said, Const, was after you just stole from. I mean, literally, he just rugged like 100,000 people. And these are the people who are interested in decentralized AI, investors in Bittensor. I mean, like, who's going to trust him if he goes and tries to, build another protocol that he thinks is superior and tries to market it to us? I mean, I know I wouldn't. So, and Bittensor has first mover advantage anyway.
I don't think it's only that this ecosystem is about first mover advantage. I think that issues like this or moments like this in time are reasons for us to continue to grow and build and become better. Um, Having a spaces where we can all come in, talk, and share our opinions is the reason why we continue to build, we continue to do better. We continue to pivot. I wanted to also make a note about Sam's comments on Const being the puppet behind everything. I completely disagree. I think we just had a spaces recently about triumvirates this year and Const stepping down. I think these are the steps for the ecosystem for us to become more and more and more decentralized. And I'm here for the journey. And I think us being critical is okay as well. But Loco, if you want to speak, yeah, you're welcome to jump in.
Yeah, I'm gonna be quick. It's 2 a.m. right here. So thank you, Subnet Summer, for this space. I want to say something to the community. Listen, guys, this is decentralized AI. Shit happens. This is crypto. This is Web3. Myself, I lost 80%, and I don't give a fuck. Fuck Sam. But listen, if I had to do it, I'm gonna sell my kidney and buy more tau and then lay down and wait for shit to happen because I believe in cost. Hell yeah, we're gonna make it. Why are we awake right now? It's 2 a.m. and speaking about that motherfucker rugging us. Why? Damn.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, guys, and as for the subnets, right? So as for Templar and Basilica and Grail, like technically they're not that difficult. The idea that I have is that basically we're going to bring people in. Hopefully we can get this mechanism pushed through Triumvirate, which allows us to introduce token holder voting. So with token holder voting, we will be able to elect basically a subnet owner. Hopefully we can also just do that automatically. We have enough stake. We can move the stake around and we can restart these subnets and start running them even before this happens. The thin layer that is the vibe coded websites that define those subnets is not that interesting to me. Templar, the name Templar, I actually came up with myself, so I feel like I'm going to keep the subnet called Templar. And I think that the people that have been mining on that subnet who know it very well are going to make it happen. I think this is going to be an example of one of the first subnets that actually becomes, with the help of myself and others, one of the first subnets on Bittensor that's truly co-owned. And we've seen that those are the ones that are the most successful on Bittensor, the ones that are running. They'll be running, functioning, doing everything they were doing before, and achieving those aims, probably in some sense headless, which is what their intention was in the first place. So if you were a holder of Templar and you're a bit worried, like what the fuck does this mean, right? I would say there is some uncertainty about what's going to happen, but I don't think that the value of these projects has gone to zero, because ultimately it's the mechanism and the community. It's this is a great test for that thesis, that the community of people that own it, that have mined it, that have learned the technology inside out, are the ones that actually hold the divine skill and value inside of these subnets. So we can prove that point, and it will be an amazing point to prove on behalf of Bittensor, and honestly, decentralization and the industry of decentralization as a whole. Okay. Any more comments from people? Questions? That's it for me. I think that's really all there is to say. That like personally, I'm not actually that hurt by this. I actually think that this is kind of exciting. I'm feeling excitement, but that's from like experience of like the trauma of crypto. Um, but also knowledge of like how these type of things they always turn out for the better. Cool.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining. I know it's late, so you're welcome to go back to sleep. I'm gonna keep this spaces open just for everyone and anyone to just have a chat, jump in. I can see that a lot of people are requesting access to speak. I'm having an issue with accepting them. Every time I click accept, it's not letting it go through. But I'll be working in on that. So there's lots of subnet owners, protocol owners, part of the ecosystem that want to speak. Just bear with me, and I'll give you guys the floor soon.
Okay. Thanks everyone. Yes, I'm gonna get some sleep. More messaging from me tomorrow, probably on this. Lots of love, everyone. Have a good night.
Well, it's our first time hosting a spaces for Subnet Summer, so
thanks Const as well for being very, very measured when a lot of basically anyone else would have really lost their temper and gone on a crusade against Sam. The point I wanted,
Yo, sent out is 0 now.
right? The question I had was around voluntary dereg. It's been spoken about before, but I've heard a few subnet owners say one of the risks around rugging is that there isn't really a good exit strategy for Bittensor. It's hard to know what Sam's real motives were at this point, but for a lot of subnet owners, it's like it's very hard to leave when leaving is basically some form of selling all your tokens, but or getting bought out by someone who probably wants to do the same thing at some point. So talking about aligned incentives, how can we create some kind of voluntary dereg whereby there's a way of divesting your token and your subnet and leaving the network and making money without rugging?